Okay. So good evening, hi everyone. So it's Wednesday night and Angular APAC is here. So tonight we are excited to have Aris to come and talk to us how to write a book. So Aris is a good friend of Angular Nation. He has been a guest of Angular APAC for 2 times. So this is his third time here, and he's a very experienced Angular developer, an author, an Angular GDE, and open source developer. So, and then he's also an expert. He's a panelist of Athens GDE in here. So we have the event next week. So I don't know if you will be there, but if you're there, I think you will be very helpful to answer any questions that the attendees have to you, to Bonnie, to Sander, and other Angular GD that show up. But before the Angular GD event, right, we have Aris Record tomorrow to talk about typed up reactive form, something new in Angular 13 or not yet released. I don't know. So if you want to have more information, then please join the event tomorrow. But it's an expert lab event, so sorry it's not free. But if you want to attend the event, please join the maybe expert lab events membership so that you can be there to listen to the expert of Angular team to talk about the latest feature in the framework. So after all the advertisement, the floor is Aris. He's going to show how to write a book from scratch, and then maybe we can be an author after this talk. So the floor is yours, Aris.
Thanks, Connie. I'm very happy to be here. Actually, I will not write a book from scratch right now in front of your screens, but I will try to teach you, to learn you the process of how to write a book, right? About the event that you mentioned for the type forms, I think it's not only for reactive forms, it's also for template-driven forms. Because sometimes you hear about forms. Somebody from the Angular team talks about forms. They mean reactive and template-driven forms, right? So forms are one, and I cannot be divided. Okay. I will try to share my screen now.
Okay.
What was that?
I don't know. I thought it's from your house. Okay, I see the screen now.
Okay, cool. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you what it takes actually to author not a general book, but a technical book. And actually, what is the process of writing a technical book from scratch, from forming your idea up to publishing it. So first, I would like to start with a quote from Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen is an American pastor and an author of other books, non-technical books, of course. And he said that you can do the right thing at the wrong time and miss your destiny. Timing is critical. When God says to do something, you need to do it. And this is how my adventure with authoring started for my part. On December of 2019, the APAC publications approached me, and they have show my GitHub profile and also my Medium profile where I maintain my blog, and they found my articles and my source code interesting. So they offered me to write a book, it's called Learning Angular, but actually to write the third edition, because the second edition of the book has already written 2 years ago from two others very special persons, Paul Dillman, which is a very good friend, and Christopher Noring, which is a very popular, in the development industry. So actually, Pact would like to take the second edition and write the third one, adding or actually modifying the stuff of the second edition into the third. The deal was not to completely rewrite the book from scratch, but to borrow about 50% from the previous edition. So what I actually had to do is take the previous edition, see what I need to change, about 50%, and then start writing. And when they told me about that, I said to myself, if you don't do it now, because I think that God said it, if you don't do it now, then you will not do it never. I felt that it is my chance. I have never dreamt that I could write a book, so it was my moment, right? At that time, I was very confident with Angular. I wasn't a Google developer expert. I was trying to become one. It was on the back of my mind, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to be. But my Angular skills were very advanced. So I started writing the book, and I finished it. The book was published about on August of 2020. And then, when the book was published, my editor approached me and told me that after a month or so, and told me that they liked so much to work with me, and they really liked our cooperation, that they thought I could write another book and take it into the next step. The other book, it was Angular Project's second edition. The concept is similar to the one, is the same actually. You take the first edition, you add your stuff, and you make it a new edition. And they actually wanted to do it because they believed in me, and they told me that we think that you can sell more copies than the previous edition. So I said to myself that if I don't, again, I said to myself, if I don't do it now, I will never write a second book, second in a row, right? So I took the opportunity and wrote another book, the Angular Projects book. Of course, it was very different from the Learning Angular, because Learning Angular was about the framework, the basics of the framework. It was destined for beginners to the Angular framework. And Angular Projects was about experimenting with different technologies, because each chapter of the book was an Angular project that was made with different technologies. It was combined with other different web technologies, right? So on October of 2020, I started authoring the second book. My wife hated me about this because as soon as I finished the book, the first, I started the second one, and the second book was released on July of 2021. And then I said that I should pause for a moment and not write any books at all. But I don't promise anything. I will write a third one. But I cannot spoil anything right now. So, what are the basic steps that I followed to write each of these books? There are actually 5 steps. The first one is to actually sign a contract with the publishing company, right? That a contract that you will write the book and they will pay you. The second one is to actually get started with the writing, filling all the papers that you need, meet your team, your editor's team, get all the resources from them that they will help you. Then there are two steps that are specifically for the chapter, for writing each chapter. The first one is called preliminary draft, or PD, and the second one is called final draft, FD. We will see each step in more detail later on. And finally, the final step is to publish the book. So let's see each step one by one. First step, how to get a contract with the company. The person that contacted me at first from the Pact Publishing was called acquisition editor, or AE. It is a term that is used for the person that makes the first contact with you, and they explain to you what they want from you to write. So the first one, initially, the publishing company contacts with you through the acquisition editor. The acquisition editor will help you create the outline of your book. And when we say outline, we mean brief overview of each chapter, what sections each chapter will contain, how many pages each chapter will be. Other things are what is your audience, what is your target audience for the book, or what is the competition of your book. Actually, it is you are trying to design in your mind how the book is gonna be at the end. So after you have created the book outline, you submit to the board, to the editorial board, and they must approve it to go on. If they don't approve your outline, you can go back, adjust the outline with the help of your acquisition editor, and then resubmit the outline to the board. So this outline process can be repeated for many times. I don't think there is any way that they will reject your proposal, your outline. I have never heard about that. So after the editorial board approves your outline, you are now ready to sign the contract with the publication company. Now, at this point, I would suggest to get a lawyer and read the contract if you are not comfortable with the law, with special terms that lawyers use. This is what I did for both of the books. I hired a lawyer to read it for me, and they told me that it is okay. Now, inside the contract, there is a section which is called financial section, and it is the area. It is a section that describes what you will get from the book, your financial, the money that you get. Initially, and this is the most common in each publishing company, initially they will give you an amount after you have finished the book, right? For example, they will give you $5,000. And they will tell you that for each copy that the book sells, you will get a 20% on the sale of each sale. Now, initially, when the book starts selling, you don't get any money until your percentage reaches the $5,000 that you get initially. So you're waiting for the book to be sold, and when the total sales reach $5,000, that was the amount that they gave you, then you will start making real money from selling your book. I hope that's clear. If anyone has any question about that, you can ask me. Right. So you get a contract. You sign the contract. Let's go to the second phase, which is how to actually get started writing in the really good stuff. First, you need to create a schedule, again with your acquisition editor. And when I mean a schedule, a deadline for each chapter, when you will deliver each chapter, exact dates. you don't need to put exact dates, of course, because that's not feasible, because we are talking about a book, right? And a book can take months, as you saw, to publish, but a rough estimation for each chapter. After you create a schedule, they will send you an author pack. The author pack is some resources that they have that they will help you during writing. For example, you get an author guide that says what are the best practices to write a book, what you should be aware when writing a book. Another guide that you get is specifically for the book that you write, because each publishing company maintains a category for its book. For example, the learning Angular book, my first book, was in the learn category, and the Angular projects book was in the projects category. So each of these categories has different guidelines that you need to follow. Also, each company has a different style that follows when writing a book. For example, Pact, when you want to add a URL inside in your content, they tell you from Pact that you need to highlight it with green color, for example. In other companies, it may be different, but this is their proprietary style guide that they follow. And also, you get a guide about how to use images and how to prevent plagiarism, because using images is a very serious thing when writing a book, because you can't just get an image from internet and put it in your book. This image must be conformed to some rules. For example, if you go to Wikipedia and search for, not Wikipedia, I think there is an alternate Wikipedia for images. I don't remember what's the name. I think it's great. I don't remember. So if you go to this site and you, for example, you're searching for an image with rice that we eat, right? If you find an image that, for example, is compliant with Creative Commons license, it says what the Creative Commons license allows you, what it offers to you in order to use it. So you must be very careful when using images. In my case, I used a tool for creating the images. Actually, the diagrams that I used, which is called Excalidraw. I will share you the link. I found it really handy when I was writing the book. It allows you to create some fluid diagrams very easily. And it is also a progressive web application for those that are interested. So after you get the author pack with all these guides, you are going to meet your team. Usually a team consists of three different types of members. The project manager, that is responsible for managing the whole project, the whole book. It makes sure that you deliver the chapters on time, and it is also this person that arranges your payment. Then the second type is the senior editors, and the third one is the content development editors. Now, actually, senior editors and content development editors are roughly the same thing. I don't know actually what's the difference, but I remember that, for example, the senior editor reviewed the first 5 chapters, and the content development editor all the rest. So they're actually splitting the review process of all the chapters, so that it is more manageable for the team. So after you have met the team, you can start writing your first chapter. Okay, so what you should do to write your chapter? This is phase 3, right? So we are actually talking about the preliminary draft process. Each chapter will need to go through this preliminary draft process. And what this process contains, first, you need to write a chapter. And how do you write a chapter? You need to do your research about the topic that you're writing. For example, when I was writing the Learning Angular book, I was going through the Angular.io documentation, all the documentation, to understand all the topics that I needed to go. For example, when I was writing about the router chapter, I read all the router content from the Angular.io so that I can freshen it up into my memory. In the case of the projects book, the Angular projects book, I did a research for each different topic. For example, when I was writing about progressive web applications, I went to Angular.io and read about the service worker. Or when I needed to write about capacitor.js, I went to the Ionic platform documentation. So this type of research you need to do at the beginning of each chapter, before writing. After you have written the book, you have written the first chapter, and you have also created the source code, because we're talking about technical books, and for development, you need to have some source code. Usually, they request from you to put source code on GitHub. They will give you a repository, and you will push your code there. So a chapter has the content, which is the written, and the source code, which is the programming stuff. After you have created the first one chapter, and you have crafted both of the resources, you send it to your content development editor or your senior editor. They will review the chapter from a syntactical and a grammatical point of view. For example, they will see if you how your sentences are syntaxed, how you write some things, if the chapter complies with their style guide that I talked before. If they have if they have objections, they will send it to you back with some comments. And some comments you should change them. Some others you may say that I don't agree with that, and you will send it back. And there is a back and forth process to address the comments of your editors. After you have addressed all of them, either you corrected them or you didn't agree with them, you send it to the editorial team, and they, at some point, they will say, okay, we are happy with the outcome, and we have accepted the preliminary draft of this chapter. Now, this preliminary draft process, it is not obligatory to be serial. For example, you write one chapter, preliminary, then you write the second chapter, preliminary. Maybe you will arrange with your team and say that I will write the first two preliminary drafts, and I will send it to you. It is up to you how you will organize it. After you have completed a preliminary draft of a chapter, there is the final draft process of this chapter. And what is the final draft? You will get a technical reviewer. Usually, the technical reviewer is not an employee of the publishing company. Sometimes they're developers, like all of us. There may be Google developer experts or something else, ordinary people, just like us. And if anyone is interested to become a technical reviewer in the book, let me know, and I will guide you. I can guide you through the process, and I can get you in touch with my editorial team. So you get a technical reviewer, and this reviewer will review the chapter that was in the preliminary draft process, but it will review it from a technical point of view. For example, this reviewer needs to have Angular knowledge. In my case, they need to have Angular knowledge so that they can tell if what I was written was correct. So they make the review, and they send you back some suggestions. Now, please notice that these are suggestions. You don't need to follow them. You may not, for example, you may reject all of them, all of their suggestions. It is up to you. This is how it works with Pact. I don't know. I think it's the same process with other companies. If you want, you can apply some of the suggestions. If not, that's okay. Then, after you have addressed the comment, the technical review comment, you send it back to your editorial team, and they say, okay, Aristeidis, Connie, Theoklitos, thank you. I accept this chapter as a final draft. And this is the point that you have actually finished your first chapter. Now, there may be some case that you submit all the preliminary drafts first, and then all final drafts, as it happened with my second book. Or in my first book, I submitted first the preliminary draft, and then the final draft for each chapter. It is up to you. It is how you organize it with your team. So you have passed all your chapters, you have completely written them. You are very close to the final phase, phase 5, which is actually when you will publish it officially. Of course, there are some steps in this phase 5. First, some steps you're not involved so much in these steps. Your involvement is more in writing the chapter. In this phase, you're not so much involved. First, they will proofread your chapter. In my case, they had a partner company that did the proofreading. Then they will, a technical director of the publishing company will check your code samples if they can compile correctly. Because believe me, the most difficult part is to keep updating your code samples with the later Angular version. Because when you write the book, there are some Angular versions in between. So you need, when a new version comes out, not a minor version, right? When a minor version is released, you need to go through all the chapters and upgrade all your project, all the source code in GitHub. So the technical director will check if those examples can be compiled correctly, as you're saying in the chapter. And then they will create the front matter and the preface of your book. The front matter, these two are at the beginning of each book. It is the place that you are writing about credits, acknowledgements, and stuff like that. And then, after this, the front matter, the preface has been completed, your book can now be published officially. Most of the work has been done for you as an author before the proofreading part. Okay, so phase 5 is very relaxed for you. So this is the process of how it works internally. Let's see some tools that, in my opinion, you need to have in order to make your authoring journey more enjoyable. This is the tools that I used, but you can use your own if you want, others, right? First, I used Microsoft Word. I purchased a version of Office 365, and I did it because the style guide of Pact is a Word style. So I needed to import the styles inside the installation of my Word in order to write the book. Another tool that was very, very handy was Grammarly. I guess most of you know it. Yeah, Connie. I also bought a version of it because I wanted to be as pro as possible. It helped me very much with the syntax and the language that I was using, because Grammarly has some categories when you install it, it asks you, what are you writing? Are you writing a technical content? Are you writing business content? For example, in my case, technical content was more close to what Pact needed. Then I used Skype, and I used Skype because I wanted to be in touch, in very close contact with my editorial team, because if you go using email, you may have delays because for example, most of my the team members for both of my books were in India, so there was a difference in the hour, right? So I couldn't just send an email and wait for them to answer. Instead, I told them that, is it okay to use Skype? And they agreed. And when I was typing something on Skype, they were answering me, even if it was night to them, even if it was midnight sometimes. So if you can use a messaging tool like Skype, you will be more bonded with your team. And finally, the Google Translate tool, because if you are not so comfortable with English language, I bet you will need it. What's going to happen after you publish the book? What's in there for us as authors? First, you will be asked to create an Amazon profile page. I can show you mine that I have here, just to get an idea how it looks like. Okay, this is my profile page on Amazon. You can see that it lists the books that I have written. I have added my Medium feed. You can connect it with your blog. I have my bio here. You can follow me, but I don't think so that I think that this follow is not very operative. I haven't used it before. And then you have some details about your books, and you can see what other people bought along with your book. For example, in my case, they purchased books from Doguhan Uluka, which is a friend of mine. He's a Google developer expert. He has written 3 or 4 books about Angular. And Muhammad here also has written a book about Angular, which is a recent book. I think it's called Angular Recipes. Generally, I'm very proud about Angular GDEs for the content that they have created. I think they have made a very nice job with writing Angular books out there. So, except of the Amazon profile, after your book has been released, you will need to support it. This type of support is called errata. I don't know why it's called like this, but errata means that the publisher will contact you through email about some requests that your readers have. For example, they can find a typo, or they can find something that it's not valid. It will happen. These things will happen. Believe me. In my books, they have spotted 2 or 3 mistakes. Even for me, that I'm very, to the point, and I want to be as exact as possible. So with this errata process, they will contact you through email, and they will tell you the reader with the name has mentioned has mentioned something about your content. Do you agree or not? Or can you help us? And you will need to reply back, and they will send it to the reader. And the process is like this. Or they can file an issue on the GitHub repository of the book. And then it's up to you to monitor the repository and respond. And finally, you will get a quarterly report. I think quarterly is for all companies, where they will send you your the financial statistics about your book. Let's see some tips and tricks, best practices that you should follow generally for writing your book. First, you should write for your passion, as I did, because Angular was my passion, and it is my passion. So that is why I like very much, and I enjoy to write about it, because I'm very passionate. Then you should find a place of inspiration. For example, when I was writing the first book, I was sitting in the living room, and my wife was sitting also in the same place, and we had the TV turned on, and I couldn't concentrate. So I said to myself, okay, I need to find a better place. So I went to my office, a small office that I have at home, and when I did this switch, I managed to write 2 chapters of 60 pages in 1 month. So finding a place that it will be in inspiration of you is very, very important. Also, you should keep the writing pace. I mean, try to write as much as you can each day. The rough estimate is 1,000 words per day. 1,000 words is not so many as you may think. They are little, so you can write it if you want. And of course, you should not procrastinate, as I did, because on my first book, I had a very constant writing pace. I was writing the chapters okay, and then I decided, okay, let's have some fun. Let's play some Assassin's Creed 1 month, and then I realized the next month that I was 1 month delayed for my chapter, and of course I paid for that with my time. There were days that I was finishing my work at 6 o'clock in the evening, and from 8 o'clock up until 2 a.m. I was writing the chapter, but it was something that it was all my fault, so I needed to correct it. I think 1 or 2 hours per day are okay, not just for writing, but also for making your research. Because, as I said earlier, you will not write. You will not write from the beginning. You will need to do your research, and the research is part of writing your content. Then you should understand your audience. For which type of users are you writing? Are you writing for beginners, for intermediate, for experts? And also check the competition. Find out why your book will be better than the others, because this is what publishing companies care about most. And some things about the style of your writing. You should use simple language, very simple. Of course, write in the active voice, not the passive voice. This is one of the most known best practices. And use complete sentences and short. For example, do not make a sentence of 3 lines or more. One sentence of 1.5 line is correct. I guess for a technical book, 30 pages per chapter is okay. This is what it was for my case. And also, at the end of each chapter, you should reward your readers. For example, if they finish, if you are describing how to compile the program, and you actually show them the output, you should say to them, "Congratulations, you have created this, or you have built that." It is very rewarding for them, and they will. It will be. They will make them. You will make them to feel nice. So, if you are asking me if I want to write another book for Angular after all this journey, then I would definitely say yes. And I'm actually in the process of this, but I don't want to spoil anything. It's not because it's not something official yet. I feel that I think that writing is one of the things that I didn't know that I could handle them. I didn't know that I could write a book, but now that I know, I enjoy it very much. I think that this sort of will help you if you have any questions about authoring or doubts. You can ask me anything. And thanks very much for calling and Angular APAC for hosting my talk.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for telling us your journey of writing 2 books in 2 years.
Yeah, it was a long journey, and actually it was 2 books in how the initial title of my talk was how to write 2 Angular books during the pandemic. And they told me from the publishing company that they wish that the pandemic will never end because I will be able to write more books during the pandemic.
I think with the pandemic, I've heard other domains as well. Everybody released a book in some sort of like cooking book, music book, whatever. So I think all the publishers were very happy with the pandemic. Yeah, thanks, Aris. Yeah, it's actually incredible. I never thought it would be this complex. I thought like there is some process involved, but yeah, seeing it from you, it sounds like a lot of time to dedicate. So one question which we already kind of answered in the slides was about how much time you dedicated per day. And to me, it seems like you have to build this habit, isn't it? Because it's like going to the gym. If you don't kind of do it daily, or if you don't make it a habit, then it's gonna be hard. So the question is, did you always, when you were in the flow, was it always at the same time, or how did you kind of make sure that you have this habit of doing it daily, consistently?
In the first book that I didn't know how it will go, how it will be, it was not constant. I mean, I could write one day 3 hours and the other day 8 hours, because as I was writing and I was feeling good, I was writing more, right? So I started to like it and I wanted to write all the book at once, but I couldn't do it. So in the second book, I devote about 2 hours, not per day, but per second day. For example, I was going. One day I was going to the gym. The other day I was writing my book.
Mm-hmm.
One day I was cooking. The other day I was writing my book. So I needed to find some spots between the days that I was writing the book for myself, because you need to take care of yourself when writing a book. It's very easy to, to make it to
Burn
devote
out?
sorry.
Yeah, to burn out, to
burn out,
do too much in one time, and then you burn out.
Yeah, to burn out. Yeah, it's very, very easy, because you're actually saying, okay, oh my god, I can write it, I can do it, click, 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 click. And when you see the clock, it will be 2 a.m. and you say, oh, I have work tomorrow, what I should do?
Which means similar to playing games. When you start to play games, like, oh, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
I had to split my time.
Yep.
Playing video games, gym, spending, of course, time with my wife. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult.
Ooh. Okay.
But at the end, it was very rewarding, because when I first take my first book, the first book in my hand, I said, you're actually being in the history when you write a book, because this book will be sold forever. As soon as, not literally forever, but they will be able to print a book until, I don't know, until the end of the times.
Yep.
It's there, you can get it.
Yeah,
But
it's a nice achievement.
The first, I need to upgrade the first book, the Learning Angular, because it's in Angular 10. So we're Angular 13, so it needs to be updated.
That's my question. Like, do you need to publish your book like within 6 months? Because Angular has major release every 6 months, and your code may break.
Yeah, what I did, and this is a little secret that I will share with you. I tried to publish after a bit after a major release of Angular. For example, when it was Angular 12, I I was preparing for Angular 12 behind the scenes, right? I had upgraded all my content, all my source code, all this time. For example, I remember that I was upgrading to each beta, to each RC, so that I can be closer to the actual Angular 12. So when Angular 12 released, I was very close. I mean, it took me 1 week just to update my content, the written content, and it was okay. I think that's the best. That will be the best practice if you write a book, because, to be honest, this type of books are obsolete after 6 months, right? Now, why should someone choose my book with Angular 10? Let's be, let's be real. Let's be realistic. But on the contrary, the Learning Angular book sells more than the Angular Projects book. I don't know why.
I guess there's more beginners maybe that want to learn it, and
Yeah.
maybe it's helpful for them rather than getting straight into projects where you already need to have the knowledge, I suppose, a little bit. You can't just go into that book straight away.
One other thing is that there isn't a book to learn Angular version 12. So even me, when I want to buy a book, I will buy the book, the most recent book. Okay, it will not be in the latest release, but it will be the most recent in its category.
Cool. Any changes that, I don't know, you will do now on the third book? Processes in your process, or things that you are like, okay, I have to change this now, to get it quicker out, or I don't know, any things that you
Yeah, according
think you will
to the
change.
feedback that I get from readers, I think that if I write a third book, I will not write another third book. I will update possibly the Learning Angular book, right? So one of the things that I will definitely do is upgrade my examples. When I was writing, I chose not to do the usual to do samples, but I did the Angular Tour of Heroes sample, my Angular Tour of Heroes. But I saw from the feedback of users that some things were missing there. They wanted something something more real, a more real world application. So this is what I will definitely change. Because when you get a book, you don't want it to do sample, right? You want something more closer to the reality. But I haven't thought about that yet. Actually, Angular 13 has a lot of features from Angular 10, so the content will be rich.
Yeah, example if there is time. Examples if there is time, yeah. Nice. How does your wife feel about the third book?
Okay, if I write the third book, I will start on summer. I have already told my publisher that I just need some time to rest. And also, I'm now in the process of moving away from Athens. I'm coming to I will come to a place near Athens. It is about 80 kilometers from Athens, which is in the seaside. And I have created a small spot near
Better
the sea.
inspiration.
Yeah, for the inspiration near the sea.
Nice.
So we are in the process now to move, and there is no time for writing.
Awesome.
And also, I need some time. I need some time to rest, because when you need to think every day that I need to write, it's it's very anxious.
Was there a specific time in the day where you felt like you're more in the zone for writing then I don't know, maybe morning or maybe afternoon, maybe lunch, maybe at night at 12 o'clock. I don't know. It depends. Like everybody's different, but I don't know. For you, what worked the most?
Definitely not in the morning.
Okay.
It was immediately after the finishing the work, 2 hours after the work.
Mhm.
Because I noticed that this time you have the pace from your work and you're hot. You can write easy.
Right. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Because for me, for example, I do whatever is hardest first thing in the morning rather than after work, because I get tired after work. I don't know. That's how it works for me.
Alex, it's not easy to write a book with kids, because I know you.
Yeah.
It's not easy, my man. I don't know how it will work. It is difficult. It is difficult.
Mhm.
Especially if your kids are small, young.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very
that's
much.
what-
I've got to go
yeah.
as well.
Okay.
So thank you very much again for putting this together, and Connie for organizing it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome
Yeah.
insight knowledge. So thanks again, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, Alex.
Thank you. Bye.
I just have one last question. So, like, does your employer know that you are an author? So, are they supportive, or did they say, "Oh, you need to focus on your work and forget all the side business that you're doing"?
They knew that I was writing a book. They were very supportive. Actually, my boss is in general very supportive. And actually, when I told them that I will not write the third book right now, they told me that I was lying and I should go back and start writing the third book.
Oh, that's funny.
Rob, I hope you take some notes.
I did already. I already published them without any approval.
You should go to the preliminary
Final
draft phase.
draft.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you managed to bribe like Sonda to review the Scouting chapter in your latest book.
Yeah, he did. Oh no, he did it. He did it very easy. I mean, he liked it. Actually, I asked from 4 persons to make reviews. The first one was Sander for the Scully chapter. The second one was Mike Hardington from the Ionic team about the Ionic chapter. The third one was someone from a company called Cesium, that they make 3D maps. And finally, Mark from the Angular team wrote an introduction about the book. So yeah, and the Angular community was very supportive in this phase.
So I don't know if you have a hard stop or not. So, like, does anyone have any question to ask Aris?
I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion for the third book.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see a book appear for testing Angular, unit testing and end-to-end testing. I don't think there exists such a complete guide in book format for testing Angular.
Yeah.
Do you have in mind?
There isn't. No, there isn't a dedicated book about testing. I could write about unit testing, but not for end-to-end testing. I don't like end-to-end testing. No.
A nice guide for unit testing. Sorry.
Yeah.
A nice guide for with examples for unit testing is your open source project. Angular.
Oh yeah, the Angular Hero. Yeah, Angular Hero.
I think it is full. All the components have their unit.
Yeah.
Files.
You know, the unit testing chapter of the Learning Angular book was one that I enjoyed most. I like unit testing very much. By the way, if anyone has an idea and wants to dive into this journey for authoring, APAC has a community which is called PAC Community, and you can log in and you can submit you can tell them actually that I'm thinking about writing this book. They are very supportive, and if you want, I can get you in touch with them if anyone wants. I'm just saying that for others that they will watch the video
Yes.
later on. But thanks for the suggestions, Torklitos.
So, does anyone have any suggestion for Aris, like third book, fourth book, or fifth book until the pandemic is over?
I think they will make a hashtag Aris stop writing books to end the pandemic.
No, like the publisher loves you so much that they want you to write like for as long as you can.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, this is how it looks.
So thank you, Aris, for coming. You know, the talk, like this meetup is supposed to be you and Fairness, but then Fairness cannot attend because of some emergency. So thank you for like showing up and then give this very inspirational talk to the community. So thank you so much. And
thanks for being here, Connie.
yeah, and we have to appreciate you more, because not only you are an expert, you answer questions, you write book, and you help everyone like better in Anchor Nation. So thank you for all your work. I mean, I only play a small part, man. I just find you and then to share your experience to like all the members in the community and Angular Nation. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Connie.
Yeah. So thank you. Yep. So I guess that's the end of the meetup. So I guess I will see you guys like in 2 weeks. Tom will be here to talk about measurement of Angular applications. So something I don't know even like possible. So I'm very excited for that talk. So if anyone like has time or wants to know more about the topic, please feel free to join like Angular APAC meetup in December. So thank you. So let me stop the recording.